What if learning a new skill did not require years of your life? What if 20 focused hours could get you surprisingly far? Hi, I'm Leo and welcome back to Learn with Leo. Today, we are challenging one of the most intimidating ideas in self-improvement. The belief that every meaningful skill demands 10,000 hours. That number became famous through Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, but it was meant to describe elite performance, not the entry ticket for beginners. You do not need to train like an Olympic athlete to enjoy a weekend sport. You do not need conservatory training to play a song for friends. And you certainly do not need fluency to order coffee in another language. The real mistake is confusing practical ability with world-class mastery. So today we are aiming for useful, not perfect, because the first 20 focused hours can change how you see yourself as a learner. But that famous 10,000 hour number is often misunderstood. It was never meant to be a minimum entry fee for learning. The idea came from research on elite performers, not everyday beginners. Psychologist Anders Ericsson studied musicians refining performance at the highest level. They were chasing tiny differences between excellent and exceptional. That is very different from learning guitar for weekend fun, or learning Spanish well enough to order tacos in Los Angeles. Practical goals require practical standards, not professional-level perfection. Think about baking. You can make great bread without becoming a pastry chef. And early practice often creates the biggest visible improvements. Your first few sessions can unlock the basics surprisingly fast. So the real question is not, can I master this? Ask instead, can I become useful in 20 focused hours? And that shift matters because the real obstacle is often emotional, not intellectual. Most beginners do not quit because the skill is impossible. They quit because feeling bad at it is uncomfortable. Your brain notices every mistake before it notices your progress. That is why a first attempt can feel like a public performance. But most people are far less focused on you than you imagine. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. We overestimate how much others notice us. Perfectionism makes the trap even stronger. You keep researching, planning, and waiting to feel ready. Unfortunately, confidence rarely arrives before action. Small wins reverse the pattern and give your brain evidence. Once improvement becomes visible, practice starts feeling rewarding instead of threatening. That reward grows because early learning moves surprisingly fast. At first, every session unlocks a major improvement. That is why your first 20 hours can feel transformational. Later, progress slows because you are polishing smaller details. Experts still improve, but each gain demands more precision. So do not judge your potential by day one performance. Now, the smartest schedule is usually shorter than you expect. A focused daily session beats one exhausting weekend marathon. Cramming feels productive, but fatigue quickly steals your attention. Short sessions leave your brain room to process what happened. Sleep then helps convert fragile memories into reliable skill. Think of sleep as practice continuing behind the scenes. Now that sleep helps lock in progress, the next step is choosing what to practice. A vague goal like learn guitar gives your brain nowhere specific to start. Replace it with a concrete outcome. Play one simple song from beginning to end. This turns an intimidating mountain into a short, visible path. Next, break the skill into the smaller abilities it actually requires. For a basic conversation, that might mean greetings, common verbs, listening, and pronunciation. Do not study every possible detail. Identify what appears most often. This is the practical spirit of the Pareto principle. A vital few inputs create most early results. Imagine learning Spanish for a trip to Madrid, not preparing to write a linguistics textbook. Choose the situations you genuinely want to handle first. Then find the foundational patterns that unlock those situations quickly. The goal is not to master the entire field. It is to become useful enough to begin. Now, once you know what matters, learn only enough to start correcting yourself. Research should support action, not replace it. Choose one reliable course, book, or tutorial, and begin there. Do not build a digital library before building the skill. This is where many people fall into productive procrastination. They watch another YouTube tutorial, then another, and still never make the first attempt. Start practicing as soon as you understand the basic process. Your first version will be rough. That is exactly what makes it useful. Mistakes reveal the gap between what you know and what you can actually do. This is the logic behind deliberate practice. Notice the error, then target that weakness. Even a beginner learning guitar can record one chord, hear the buzz, and adjust their fingers. So use theory as a map, but let practice tell you where to go next. And the next direction is simple. Make practice easier to begin. Because motivation is unreliable, especially after a long workday. Your environment can carry the decision for you. Place your tools where you can see them before you need them. Leave the guitar on its stand or the sketchbook open on your desk. The fewer steps between you and practice, the better. Next, remove the distractions competing for your attention. Silence notifications, close extra tabs, and put your phone out of reach. This is the same idea James Clear popularized in Atomic Habits. Shape the environment, not just your intentions. But physical obstacles are only half the problem. Perfectionism may whisper, wait until you're ready. Answer it with one imperfect attempt, and let confidence catch up. And once you've taken that first imperfect step, expect the frustration valley to appear. Early on, effort feels huge while improvement feels almost invisible. That awkwardness is not evidence that you lack talent. It is simply your brain building unfamiliar pathways through repetition. Psychologist Anders Ericsson called this deliberate practice, focused effort, feedback, and correction. So don't demand brilliance from your first 5 hours. Make the first goal simply showing up for 5 focused hours. Think of it like learning to drive in the United States, or the UKV. Confidence comes after real road time. Track tiny wins because motivation grows when progress becomes visible. Maybe your chord changes are smoother, or your typing is slightly faster. Those small improvements are proof that the system is working. Keep going until hour 20. Not because it makes you an expert, but because it makes you capable. And once you feel capable, the method becomes useful in real life. Imagine giving one focused month to a skill you have always wanted to try. You could learn enough guitar to play a few songs for friends, or enough coding to build a simple website instead of only watching tutorials. That is the difference between consuming information and creating something usable. The same principle works for typing yoga, cooking languages, and sports. You are not promising to become a professional. You are testing what becomes possible. This is close to the mindset James Clear describes in Atomic Habits: focus on identity through repeated action. Each practice session gives you evidence: I am someone who can learn. More importantly, the process transfers from one skill to the next. You learn how to notice obstacles, fix mistakes, and keep moving. 20 hours may not make you an expert, but they can change your relationship with learning. And that shift in perspective is the real lesson. You do not need mastery to begin benefiting from a skill. The 10,000-hour idea describes elite performance, not the entry price for everyday competence. So choose one skill that would make your life more enjoyable, useful, or interesting. Maybe it is conversational Spanish, basic coding, playing piano, or finally learning to cook. Then define the smallest useful result. What should you be able to do after 20 focused hours? Next, break that result into high-impact pieces and learn only what helps you practice. Make practice almost effortless to start. Prepare your tools, protect your attention, and remove distractions. Do not wait to feel confident. Confidence usually arrives after you keep a promise to yourself. As James Clear writes in Atomic Habits, every action is a vote for the person you want to become. When frustration appears, treat it as part of the process, not evidence that you are failing. 20 focused hours will not make you world-class, but they can make you capable, curious, and ready for more. So choose your skill today. Schedule your first 20-minute session and begin before you feel ready. Tell us in the comments, what skill will you give your first 20 hours to?